Here we'll work with patterns. And patterns are just like tiles that repeat horizontally and vertically within a shape, just like tiles on a kitchen counter or on a floor. So we'll work with patterns in this video. The first thing I'll do is go to Object and unlock All in the document, and I'll make sure that nothing is selected. Now, with the Selection tool, I'll click to select the background rectangle behind all of the artwork. And in my Properties panel, I'll click the More Options in the Appearance section to bring up the Appearance panel. And then I'll click the Add New Fill button at the bottom of the panel. And that adds another fill layer at the top of the stack. And then I'll click to the right of the word Fill to show the panel of swatches, and I'll select the Pompadour swatch. So it's filled it with that pattern. And you can find many other patterns just by clicking the Swatches menu library there in the lower left-hand corner and go down to Patterns. And there are lots of patterns that come with Illustrator. So I'll go back to my Appearance panel, and I'll click to the left of the top fill until I see that triangle there, and I want to click on the word opacity, and I want to reduce the opacity to about 20% so that we see some of that gradient behind it. And then while this is still selected, I'll go up to Object, Lock, and then Selection. So we can also create our own patterns. It's easy to do. I'm going to zoom in on the second artboard. It looks like a little X with a circle in it. And so we'll work on making a pattern out of this shape here. So what I want to do is go to Select, and then select All on Active Artboard. So that selected those shapes that make up that little pattern. And with that selected, I'll go to Object, down to Pattern, and over to Make. And it gives me a little bit of a notice there. I'm just going to click OK. It also brings us into pattern editing mode, which is somewhat similar to isolation mode, but this is where we can manipulate our pattern to look exactly like we want it to look. And this is showing how the pattern will repeat. It's creating a kind of a diamond shape right now. I'll zoom in a little bit. And we have a number of options in pattern editing mode. First, I'll name this Cake Top. And then I'm just going to choose some of the other tile types just to see how differently the pattern can appear by the way it is repeated. And those are some interesting ways that the pattern can be repeated, but I want to make sure that I finish up with just the grid. So I'll change it to 1 by 1, so I'm only looking at the artwork. And what I want to do is hold down Option, Shift, or Alt-Shift and drag the blue circle from the center to a little outside the upper right corner of the blue pattern tile box. So there is that circle. It's just outside that box. And now I'll choose the 5 by 5 from the Copies menu to see how it repeats. It's not doing exactly what I want it to do, so I'm going to select the Size Tile to Art option in the Pattern Options panel. And that fits the tile area to the bounds of the artwork. And you can see that we have a number of different options. We can change the horizontal and vertical spacing. Number of options, but I think that's all we need to do, so I'll just go ahead and click Done. And if I look in my swatches panel, we'll see that the cake top pattern has been added there. I'll just go to Show Swatch Types. And I'll just show pattern swatches. And there it is, the cake top pattern. So I'm going to select the top cake shape. And then I'll go to Edit, down to Copy, and then Edit, Paste in Front. And I'll select the swatch named Cake Top to fill my cake with that pattern. It's not looking exactly like I want it to, but we can edit our patterns. So with that shape still selected, I'm going to click the Fill Color and double-click the Cake Top pattern swatch to edit it in pattern editing mode. So now we're in pattern editing mode. There we are, there's our pattern. I'll zoom in. And with the selection tool, I'll click one of the blue circles and hold down Shift to select the other. I think I want to change the color of those. And I'll change the fill color to the brown swatch named BG. I'll show all my swatches again. Find the brown swatch that's named BG. There it is. I'll just click that and it changes the dots from blue to brown. And then I'll just click Done on the pattern editing bar, and we can see it change the dots in our cake. Now the pattern is looking a little large for that shape, so I'll make sure that my cake shape is selected, and I'll double click the Scale tool. And I want to reduce the uniform scale to 50%, and I want to make sure that all of the options are deselected except for the Transform Patterns checkbox. So I want to deselect all of the other options except for the Transform Patterns. You can see what's happening as I deselect those. And so now with just that Transform Pattern selected, notice how it's scaled that pattern much better to the size of the cake. So we're pretty much finished with our artwork, and I'll go to Object, Show All, and now we can see what a really nice job we did with gradients and blends and patterns.